welcome to the Based Podcast. We've got our friend Omar Oyoque with us, plays in the band Silverada, formerly known as Mike and the Moonpies. How's it going, man?
Dude, it's going great, man. Glad to be here and very thankful for y'all having me.
Yeah, dude. We have been fans from afar for a while. Sometimes close because Nick sometimes runs into you in a parking lot.
Yeah.
I think a lot of musicians run into each other behind the Nashville Palace parking lot.
Dude, I think it's true. People don't realize that there's only so many places that people do bus call in
There's
Nashville.
so many parking lots out there.
Yeah.
Well, in city limits, there's very few parking lots that can accommodate buses and cars and all that. So, yeah, we were playing at the Palace. You guys were playing at the Opry. And I was talking to some folks in the Randall King camp, which is some old friends of y'all's, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Look at that crazy bus out in that parking lot." And they go, "Oh, that's Mike and the Moonpies," because I guess they've known you forever. So they're just like, "Oh, that's Mike and the Moonpies. That's Silverada out there." And I was like, "Omar's out there!" I texted you immediately. I was like, "Bro, we got to throw down." So hopped over. Yeah, your bus is crazy, man. It's it's like shattered glass.
Yeah, it's
not really.
It's got a southwestern design. It was originally for a Warped Tour crew. It was a Warped Tour crew bus, and then bought by our buddy Jason Boots. Well, and then before that, it was the tour bus for Roger Clyne and the Peacemakers, who did the King of the Hill song. And then our buddy Jason,
so cool.
Yeah, dude, it's so cool. And then our buddy Jason Boots, he ended up buying the bus, and it's kind of had the rap ever since. I think he plans to change it, but it's like one of those unique buses you see everywhere, and you're like, it almost makes you feel like, I don't know why, it gives me Halo vibes, like Southwest Halo.
Nice.
There's. I say it's so geometric, I could see it, but it's like this like minty green, like it's just awesome. Like you see that and you're like, oh yeah, Silverado.
Yeah. So we lease that bus from him whenever we can, and he lives up in Minnesota, and then he comes to Texas and meets us, and we head out on the road. He's a super cool dude. Yeah, it's a fun bus for sure.
Well, we've always appreciated you. Thought you were a extremely sick player. Tried to get you on for many months now. It being completely our fault, mostly my fault.
Mine too.
Well, actually, Nick moved to Nashville, so that part's his fault.
Didn't help anything in my life.
Yeah, so we're fine. We're
everybody's
super
growing, dude. It's great. Everybody's growing.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Super grateful to finally get you on, and an extremely early based supporter. You were pretty quick to picking us up.
Man. Like
shortly after the podcast,
I'm a big fan of like a lot of the dudes and a lot of the people in general that you bring onto the podcast. Like the first guest was Craig, right? From
See,
Tyler Childers. Yeah,
super
Craig.
fan.
And Craig is super cool. Him and I met at a Pickathon. The same day that Country Squire was released, we released Cheap Silver and Solid Country Gold. And we were both playing Pickathon, and Crombin was playing that night too. So
that's awesome.
So I met Laura Lee and Craig that night, and
dude,
dude,
that's a trio, man.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't meet them together, right?
I know, but that would have been so cool.
Yeah, dude, it was
too much bass power in one place.
Yeah, dude, it was a good hang, dude. It was cool, and then we kind of became insta buddies ever since then, and Tyler's had the incredible trajectory that they've had, and it's really cool watching his whole gear transform.
Oh yeah, man. He's like, I'm just a little humble country boy.
Here's
I just have I just have a little old whatever, and then he just pulls out this monster. I'm not really into gear, but and then just like explodes like the coolest stuff.
But it's cool shit though. It's like it's stuff that like
awesome.
It's like stuff we all dream about. We all want those toys.
Absolutely,
we all want those toys. It doesn't matter how bad. Like you say, nah, I'll never have that, or I don't.
No
hating. No hating. We all want it, and proud, and super stoked for the dude.
To him. He did the work. I can attest to that.
You also had Adam from Idols too. That was sick, dude. Yeah. I'm a big Idols fan, and so like watching that episode was sick. And
gosh, he's a monster.
Yeah,
he's an
plus he's just
monster.
The nicest dude.
And then you also had what's her name? Alana, I think, from
Alana
with all the like MIDI board she was like
craziness.
Dude, that blew my mind. I was like driving, I'm like, man, I can't keep up with this. I feel like
I still think about it often.
Dude,
it's inspirational.
It really is. I don't know how to get to that point, but I don't know if I want to get to that point because that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's all different kinds. I think that's the coolest part.
But I also equally am a big fan of what you guys do. I think you guys shine a cool light on the people that hold it down for a lot of cool bands, man.
Thank you so much.
It's sweet.
So, so that we get it out of the way, tell us about the name change.
Yeah,
the Mike and the Moonpies to Silverada.
Yeah, so so I've known the band since before I was in the band. I used to play pedal steel in another country band, and just through like networking, and I got to know the dudes, and around 2017, December 2017, I joined the band. But I say that because even before I joined the band, they were already talking about changing the name. So it was like something that's been in like motion since before I was even in the band. And it kind of like Mike and the Moonpies happened, and it kind of just took off. And when it takes off, you're like, well, I guess this is what it is now. And as the band was growing through the years, after a while, some things just they require a change. And like you want to move into something that identifies more with your artistry. And also in a professional sense, sometimes a name like Mike and the Moonpies can be very easy to dismiss because it sounds funny.
Yeah.
So it's we're all trying to play stadiums, right?
Hey man.
But yeah, that's kind of the thing behind it. Like, we just wanted to kind of grow into this next phase of our musicianship as a collective.
Yeah,
sure.
And we're still riding the wave, but we're stoked. We're still playing our music and being true to ourselves. Like the music's the same. It's just the name change.
Yeah, I've been spinning the new album a lot, and I'm a big fan.
Do you have like resources to listen to? What is it? Dolby Atmos. Like the 360 audio, because that's how the album was recorded, and I've heard that it sounds. I mean, it wasn't recorded; it was mastered in the 360 Atmos.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I mean, I have AirPods.
Oh yeah,
so it gives you
the
so
spatial.
It could probably,
yeah, it gives you the spatial.
Audio.
Yeah, so the album was recorded in the Dolby Atmos, and so I've heard that like sometimes it sounds different on Spotify, or I don't know, but cool. Right. I'm glad you're spinning it, dude. Thanks, man.
Oh yeah, I'm super into it. I'll have to do the Dolby Atmos thing. Did you? I guess you didn't track it any differently. It was a mastering thing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
definitely.
That'd be very interesting if it was tracked differently. But I don't even know how that would go.
Yeah, and even our tracking, like the way we track, is pretty unique. We record down at Yellow Dog Studios, which is now in San Marcos, Texas, in Central Texas, and they've got this this console. It's a Trident console, so it goes into tape, and then it goes in through another unit called a clasp that takes the tape and it digitizes it to Pro Tools.
Nice.
And so everything that we're recording is analog to straight digital. Like, I don't know how they convert it.
I love
Sounds
that.
cool.
That's
awesome. So you still get like the tape.
No, that's great. You get the mojo.
Yeah, exactly. You get that tape.
The soul.
Yep.
I love that. Yeah, there's something about tape that I don't know, we as a society are missing tape.
I got a couple reels here. My grandpa's tapes from like the 70s.
Yeah, I got my dad. My dad was in radio, so when he passed away, I got this big thing of tapes, and I got to go all through and find the different reels and be like, oh my gosh, like I've never actually found a reel to reel. You can see them at Goodwill every now and then, but and now I'm like, okay, now I need to find a reel to reel player, but that's a loss. Honestly, here's a hot take: I love vinyl, but reel to reel should have taken off. We should have a bunch of stacks of tapes instead of vinyl. It sounds better, legitimately. It's like, why would you take tape to vinyl when you could just tape to tape? Now,
I think tape is pretty flammable, though, huh?
It is, and it degenerates over time.
Yeah. Well, I kind of got that.
Disintegrates.
And it's huge and takes up a lot of space.
I've got one of my grandpa's cassettes that was never opened, and I opened it the other day, and it's like the inside cover is deteriorating.
Oh yeah. Bummer.
So, yeah. I wish it was on vinyl though. I've been trying to digitize that stuff.
Right.
So, tell me, let's go for the bass selection. Let's get the gear stuff out of the way. You know,
let's do it.
We got to go. So I came up on y'all's cool bus, and you were like, "Bro, here's my baby. Tell me about your baby."
So I got this 1975 P bass for my birthday.
That's what we like.
2 years ago, and it was crowdfunded actually, and it was the coolest thing ever. I was at a gig in Conroe, just like north of Houston, and the following day we had to go to the studio to record this album that is out now, which is our eponymous record, Silverada. And so I was on Facebook Market, dude, just like scrolling and like I was like, oh damn, I got the money to buy this bass, and I find this bass on consignment in Galveston. So I borrow a buddy's car, head down to Galveston, try out this bass, fall in love with it, and this thing has got so much mojo. So it belonged to a gentleman who played in a prison band in Texas, and he was the original owner, and he kind of reached his age, and he had some stuff on consignment. And there's an ice cream truck driving by. I don't know if y'all can hear
Nice.
that, but anyway,
good.
so yeah,
Flag
so
'em
he
down.
so he had this bass on consignment, and I went and checked it out, and the back is just beautiful checking. It's got so much buckle rash, and like the neck is just worn from all the rings. It's Olympic white turned piss yellow.
Yeah,
and
that's my favorite.
Yeah, dude.
Nicotine.
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
say
dude.
nicotine
Nicotine yellow. Yeah, nicotine yellow. Yeah. Let's do that instead. Yeah, it's
Right,
Nick Yellow.
it's turned into nicotine yellow, and like one day I was like, let me clean this bass up. So I got some like cleaning solutions for guitars, and it just like started wiping away the original finish, and I was like, nope, not touching it. So it still has the original owner's like gunk on there.
Love that.
the funk is in the gunk, like James Jamerson says.
Amen.
But yeah, dude, and like the pickups are hot, and every venue that I'm in, I can have so many ground lifts and whatnot, and it's just like a buzzing bass, but it's just it kicks
Right.
ass, dude. It cuts through so well. Maple fretboard, and it's here. I got it. It's great, dude. I love that bass, and like I said, it's just got so much mojo in it. So I bought the bass, drove to Wimberley, and I got to the studio at about 6 a.m. So this is like all post gig, like loaded out, did the thing, went out,
That's crazy.
and yeah, dude, and then went to the studio, got a fresh set of Rotosounds, restrung the bass at like 6 a.m. and just started playing all this like Sabbath riffs on it because I was just like, dang, this thing is so growly and insane. And then the following morning, just started tracking with the album. Like, so my first like experiences with this bass was just straight up tracking the album. Is this ice cream truck coming through?
I can
It
hear
is.
it
It's
now. It's
awesome.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, we get like ice cream trucks that like run through the neighborhood and
What's
I hang
the
out there.
go-to? Are you a bomb pop guy or?
Nah, dude, street corn, man, Mexican street corn. These people,
Oh,
these folks, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, they sell it all, dude. They got like chips and salsa and corn
that's
with all
way
the
better.
fixings. Yeah, dude. I mean,
Jeez.
of course, yeah. It's super cool.
My Lexington
But yeah, anyway.
ice cream
was
truck.
that?
We're lucky that they're selling saltines or something. We don't have anything cool.
Yeah, no, they serve like hot Cheetos and cheese. Like they'll like turn the bag sideways, cut it, and then
That's
pour
awesome.
pour
Wait,
like
what?
like nacho cheese in there, and then they give you a fork and you buy all
I
that.
had
ice
no
cream
idea
truck?
what I was missing.
Oh,
This is
dude, yeah.
awesome.
Texas, what's Texas doing, dude? Kentucky.
This is the
couldn't
biggest
handle that.
revelation of the whole podcast.
Dude,
what
it's
in the
coolest
world?
thing. So I live about 10 minutes north of Mexico. So I'm like South Texas. So it's like the Mexican
Nice.
culture crosses over. I was there 2
Love
days
it.
ago. I went over to Mexico 2 days ago, had a good time. But yeah, dude, so like it's a very common thing to see these like ice cream trucks driving by, and like all the announcements are in Spanish, and they got like awesome ice cream, but the snacks is where they're at, dude.
Nice.
They'll sell you like Mexican
Sounds
cokes
like
with like
it.
real sugar and like it's all the good stuff, all the good stuff. But
Dang,
anyway,
I'm
back to the
jealous of
bass
just that.
talks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, dude, I ended up recording this whole album on that one bass. Like it just had every tone. If I needed to do something like flat woundy-ish with muted kind of sound, I would just roll back the tone knob and just kind of use my left hand and like a little bit of palm muting on it, but the bass just rips, dude. And Nick got to check it out on the bus when he came to visit, and I love sharing that bass, dude. It's great.
Dude, yeah, it's awesome. You hand it to me, you're like, here's my boat anchor. It's
dude,
a
yeah,
heavy boy.
Dude, yeah, that thing's got some weight to it, dude. It's hefty.
But there's something about A, just the tone it can produce when it's like bulky like that, and B, what it does to you as a player when it's like that much of a force to play. Like you really gotta
There's
lay
some
into
honor.
that thing, right?
Every time you pick
Right?
it up, there's reverence.
Dude, for sure. Like I
man.
went through so many bases before I got to this bass. I mean, I wouldn't say so many bases, but I went through about 4 bases, and all P bases too. Like I started out with that with PJ Mexican Deluxe, the Seafoam Pearl one, and the Jazz Neck with the block inlays, real cool bass. And then after that, I went to this white bass actually here. Fender was kind enough to send me this one. And this is now my fly bass. This has got an air tag under the pickguard, so I know exactly when we're flying in airports. And
that's the move.
So I played on this bass for a hot minute.
I've got air tags in all my basses, I think. It is. Yeah, that is the hack.
It's the move. It's the move. Yeah, for sure.
People are like, they're nervous that there's RF or like, you know, that's going to, I have never had a single issue with interference or anything. Like, put air tags in your basses.
Yeah, it's the coolest thing. And yeah, but we'll get into those hacks here in a bit. And so I used this custom 51 silver bass here for that Cheap Silver album release. But then, man, when I picked up that 75, it made sense. You know, it was just like you pick it up and you're like, yep, this is the bass I'm going to be using for the rest of my career. Like, this is it.
Ooh. That's awesome.
It's been a great journey. I'm about to get it refretted too. It needs to be refretted. It's been pretty worn down and beat, but you know, rode hard and put up wet. Like it's a great bass, man.
Nice.
Heck yeah.
So earlier before we hopped on, you were kind of saying that you do all your own setups and work, but you're saying you won't try the frets. You're like, no, somebody else got to do it.
Yeah, that's where I'll send it to a luthier. Yeah. I'll do my own.
That's where the magic comes in.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Like I'll do all my own setups. Like I mentioned, I travel with files and feeler gauges and all these like mats and whatnot to do my own adjustments on bass because I don't travel with a tech, so I am my own tech. But yeah, getting into fret work, I don't mess with it, dude. Like, yeah, that's too scary for me.
I need to learn bad. I just need to like shut up and learn. So many people have said like this is a fundamental skill you need to know. It just makes me nervous.
What does? Just like any setup?
Yeah, I'm just like height. Do the thing, press the fret here, take the little read. And I'm like,
it's
you know
a process.
what?
It's a process. Yeah.
It is. It's
for me, it's like I'm not home long enough to like wait on the turnaround time of a tech.
Right.
So, because I gotta, next weekend I'm off for another 2 weeks or a week or a month or whatever the case is. So I'm just I just learned because I had to, and I'm thankful I did because now like I have a bass problem. I make all the basses feel good to like my liking and.
Yeah,
I hoard them all for different reasons.
Man, you know what you should do, especially with that being an old bass? You should figure out the closest Plek machine to you. Have you seen those?
No, never.
Plek, Plek.
No.
I had one of my old basses done. There's maybe a handful in Nashville. They're really expensive.
Is that the synth one?
No. So you put your bass in it, and it's got this little strap around it. I did it to an old Modulus I had. And it will re-level your frets like with computer precision, like it's an arm thing, but it can fret, it can do refret and then like file the frets down with like better than human accuracy. The reason that's super cool is the older your bass gets, it's always got a little bit of twists and stuff, like it's never perfect. So it will level your frets with the turns of the neck in mind. So you get a perfect fret level, even though there's like microscopic turns. It's insane. You really, it's an experience. It's a little expensive, but it's worth it.
And so that like somebody does that in Nashville?
I don't remember who I went to. I just usually Google Plek machine. I'm going to Google Plek machine.
See, I thought you did yours in, I thought you went up to the Lakeland guys up in Chicago. Oh. But I could be making that up.
No, I went somewhere weird. You're right. I went somewhere weird, but it wasn't Chicago. Let's see. Okay, Tone Shop Dallas.
Has
one.
Yeah. Okay.
Get Plek. Is your instrument as good as it could be? If the answer to that question is not a resounding yes, we may be able to
get Plek.
I'm glad. We should do a whole video on this,
dude. Yeah, that's pretty insane. I've never heard of that. Yeah. It sounds expensive.
I mean, I bet it's like $400, $350.
Nah, it has to be more. I mean, I got a quote to refret my bass the other day with like stainless steel frets, and it was like $500.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, it's your baby, but like to me, I'm like, okay, Plek, it can't be wrong. Well, I say this, but like computers have only failed us.
I was gonna say, so let's actually revisit this because you got that bass Pleked because that modulus was buzzing and it did not fix your buzz. So it can be wrong.
This is a lifelong issue of mine. I will now blame technique. I will blame technique because it did But well, okay. Here's what I've decided. Every bass resonates differently. That's the soul, that's the mojo, whatever. There are basses I just do not get along with, even though on paper they are perfect for me. The way I play, which was/is sometimes too hard, and the strings I was using, which this would be a great pivot, did not help my case. And I was also playing an active bass that was super bright, and I was being anal retentive about fret buzz.
Yep.
One of those moments for me. This is good. Okay, so you're on the the swing bass? Who makes that?
Yeah, the 66 Rotosounds, 55s now. Yep.
You're on the Rotosounds train. Yeah. I have been really curious about those. I am now, as of late, on the DR Strings train because, and I think Rotosounds do a similar thing in some models. There's like a round core situation,
like a tape wound kind of thing. Is like the half. Are you talking
there's
about the
something
half?
about like you've got a round wound and it's got like a you coil it around the string, but the actual like string part of it can be a hexagon or it can be round.
Yeah.
I have now discovered that the ones that are round are really spongy. They have like a not stiff, spongy feel to it. That is my jam. I'm glad I've discovered this about myself. 30 years old, like the spongy strings.
There you go. Does it give you like a tubbiness?
What it does to me, and it's the same thing I liked about those Ernie Ball Cobalts that I've been raving about. Right. It's like I finally found the round wound counterpart to those strings. It does not give me the feedback that I want in the moment where I'm like sweaty, I'm in the moment, I'm playing a show, whatever, and I just start playing like way too hard. Right. Just hard, and I'm getting tired and whatever. These don't give you, they don't react to that. Like once you're playing too hard, they don't give you any more. And so it's like subconsciously made me play smoother and with better technique because I just don't get that like thing that sometimes is really cool. And I just do that live. And all of a sudden I'm just playing super hard for half the show. And then, inevitably can't play some dumb Bon Jovi lick or something if it's a cover band.
Yeah. So for me, I kind of approach it similar. Well, actually, kind of opposite because I like the clankiness.
No, that's great.
I like the clankiness and like the Steve. I grew up on like a lot of Iron Maiden, so Steve Harris he used flat wounds. He uses flat wounds, and all his stuff is flat wounds. But what I recently learned also is that he changes his strings every show, so they're gonna be like fresh stainless steel round wounds. But I used Slinkies for the longest time, and I was using their nickels, the Ernie Ball Slinky nickels, and man, my hands were just going through them. Like, and I'm the type of guy when I'm on stage, I'm running around. Like I'm pretty animated, and I like to just run around. My hands get a little clammy and whatnot, and they would just die on me, man. Like they just had no longevity, and I found myself just changing strings pretty constantly. And so I started looking, and the D'Adarios is kind of the thing that you go to because every Guitar Center sells them at first, and then
right.
And so I did that for a while, but it just wasn't really what I was wanting. And then I came across I had the idea well, what does Steve Harris use? And it's like, oh well, Rotosound, right? And I started using Rotosound at a very early age. I started using Rotosound for a good while, and I was using the stainless steel Swing Bass 66. And I was using stainless steel on a maple board. So it was just like bright and punchy. And I've always kind of been the type that I like a kind of smiley face EQ, scoop mids, punchy lows, clear highs. I'm the guy that puts the ultra low on the SVT. And so like if you're looking at it at my EQ on a SVT, it's just like mids and highs mids are at noon ish, maybe 10 o'clock, between 10 and noon, and highs I'll have them between noon and 1, and on the bass with that ultra low I'll have the bass down at like 3.5 or 4.
Nice.
Well, I guess I guess that would be like 8 o'clock.
Like boost.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, 8 o'clock. Yeah. I meant 3 in
so
the numbers of
you're
the
like
knobs.
ultra lowing it, then you're compensating by bringing some bass down.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, and that way it's just not too like woofy.
Yeah.
But I was doing that with So I was like doing that with with the stainless steel strings, and after a while I was just like, man, this is a little too harsh. And as you get older, your hands change, your oil change, how much oil you produce and all that stuff. So I was like, well, let me go back to nickels, and I went to the swing 55s, the swing bass 55s Rotosounds, and I've been hooked. Nice. My buddy Sean, he plays bass for the Wilder Blue, and him and we always have like just gear discussions. We'll get on FaceTime and just talk about bass, what's going on, what we're doing, and he was like, man, we'll give them another shot. And I was like, you're right, like why not go back to the nickels? And it's been the coolest shit ever for me. Now I'm in that sweet spot where I'm like really getting that punchy tone that I want, and the highs aren't too like fretty, like too stringy, where you can hear the hand moving.
Yeah.
So that being said, when you were saying earlier about your strings, where like you can dig in and it keeps it the same. For me, like what I like about it is that it checks me. Like,
right.
If I'm playing, cool. And we're on in-ears, so if I'm like digging in there and I'm hearing that bass start to clank and whatnot, I can pay attention to what I'm doing. It's really like it points out all of your flaws. I guess that's the cool thing about it. It points out a lot of what you're doing. And so like I said, for me, like if I'm getting these like brighter, punchy tones, but with my right hand, I'm like really listening to how I'm delivering it. And granted, I'm going out through a pedal board, and I also mic up my cab, so I'm really getting a feel of what I'm throwing out to front of house. Sure. So it really allows me the privilege to be a little detailed or conscious about what my right hand is doing. But yeah, nickel strings, Rotosound, it's like been the formula key for me lately.
Nice. I think Adam Devonshire is also on the swing bass train.
And he was using the 66, or he uses the 66, which is what I was using, the stainless steel. And dude, have y'all ever played those stainless steel Rotosounds? Like,
not the steel ones. No, I've got the regular guys on my rig, and then I'm putting the regular ones on a P bass of mine. But no, I've not done the stainless steel.
Dude, the stainless steels are cool. Like what I like about the stainless steel, and it also depends on the context of the gig. You know what I mean? Like obviously, like I'm not gonna take round wound stainless steel to like a slow country gig. I mean, it depends. You know what I mean? My gig requires me to be, we're a little edgy and drivey, so. With the stainless steel, you get a lot of that growly P bass kind of sound that you want. Right. Like if you're doing like a rockish gig, and the longevity on those strings is pretty impressive too. Like I'm also like the type of guy that I will just change my strings monthly, because I like to have a fresh tone, like a consistent fresh tone, and but recently, that's all been changing with these nickels, because they're like warming up into the right spot that I want. And as we're getting older, like as we play through the years, our tone preferences change, our palatability, like what's palatable to us changes, and
100%.
And it's been really cool, that I can find the tone that I'm looking for in either make, whether it's stainless steel or nickel, through Rotosound. And like I think that says a lot for the company that it's pretty consistent. Also. All the musical greats have used their strings too, so it's like,
am I making this up? Were they the first ever round wound? Something like that?
I think they were the first stainless steel round wound.
Okay, first ever stainless round wound.
I think I could be wrong, and like everybody uses. Pino Palladino, Andy Rourke, who's one of my favorites of all time from the Smiths. I don't know if you guys get into the Smiths, but Andy Rourke is like one of the. I feel like he's a super underrated bassist. He's just amazing. But yeah, Andy Rourke, Steve Harris, as I mentioned earlier. I think Tony Kanal is also on Rotosound, from No Doubt. Like, nice, and his stuff is great. Yeah, dude, there's like so many great. Adam from Idols,
right.
is Rotosound artist.
It was indeed the first round wound.
Oh so, wow!
Well, there you go.
Well, dang, see,
man. Boom, boom, boom. It's a fun conversation, because I've been kind of like, me and Carson have been in this like fight to be like, all right, what's our relationship with string noise? Like, what's my real relationship with fret buzz? And I think the more and more I go through it, the more I'm like, man, when you think of somebody like a guitar player, like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Dude, he put some bright strings on and it clanks and it's like, that's just the sound. And then when we go to bass, for some reason, I used to be just obsessed with trying to get like this pure thing. And that's just not how I play. I'm going to dig in. Like, one thing about me is I'm digging in. Like, that's the way I'm going to play. And I think that's part of the sound. So I've gotten okay with that. And then about that music, man, I was like, it's made to clang, dude. Like, it's made to.
That's the sound, yeah.
That's the sound. Like, that's what I'm talking. Fresh strings on a Stratocaster. It's like, dude, that's meant to just jangle. Like, that's the point. And I think, when you think about an old school P bass, you're like, it's gonna jangle, man. Like, when you think about just these old, like, kind of aggressive lines. Well, dude, with my Rick, when I was like, okay, I need to put some strings on this thing, Rotosound makes so much sense because you're like, it's got this so much personality and something to just bring that out even further. You're like, why would I try to mask it when I can just lean into it and let that bass sing?
Too. Like,
it's
when
amazing.
They were being made. That is the string you would have put on it.
Dude, it's awesome. It just sings. And I think what's even been really cool is the way that they dull over time. I actually like that too on the Rick. Like, just the way that they kind of get this like throatiness. I'm like, well, that's cool too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, like, one thing that I've also noticed with them is, like, we do outdoor gigs a lot, and so they will take a beating outside and, like, heat and sweat and all the gunk, and they last, man. They do it. They get the job done. I love it.
Yeah, and that goes back to our original thought of that's why you got to know how to set your stuff up, is because you'll go outside and you'll play in lower Alabama and it'll be basically just wet air. And then you got to know how to put it back in a case, drive up 10 hours to Michigan, hop out, and there's no humidity. And your bass just like zaps itself into existence again. Like, you got to know how to make those little tweaks on the road. So, full circle, baby.
It helps. It helps to learn that stuff for sure.
My answer to that was I just would have my action so high that I didn't notice. Be like, it's a little easier to play today. Oh, it's a little harder to play today. All right. We're playing it,
the size of your calf.
Right, yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and it also shows the versatility of like a P bass, because you have a Pino Palladino tone, the flat wound, the whatever, and with the tone knob rolled off, and then you get like, what's his face from Green Day. Like, it's the polar opposite kind of thing.
I have a Mike Dirnt bass here too.
I saw it. Those things rule, dude.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's a lot of versatility and like finding strings that match how you play and your personality and what because I noticed the farther I went down this, like, man, I gotta have amazing technique. I focus on recording more. Like, I love live, but really I love the energy I get live. I don't always want to be tour guy all the time. Like, I do a lot of focus on recording. So I have a B15 and I have like some of the studio classic stuff. And I would find that the more perfect my technique would get, and even though I was using like really bright flats, they're still flats, I would find engineers start moving the mic on my B15 closer and closer to the center of the cone and boosting the treble and taking the lows out. So like, the more I was trying to get perfect, the more they were coming up to it and like trying to get more imperfect sounds out of it, because there's a lot of character in that, and there's a lot of fun in that, and that's what you lean into when you need something that's unique and not a keyboard.
Yeah, and one thing I learned, like, since you were talking about that, I was doing a sound check one day, and I was starting to mess with some of my settings and just kind of getting really tone conscious. And earlier, Nick, you had mentioned how you're like, man, we're thinking about like, the slide and like all these little nuances that are happening. And I think once, the whole live setting is happening, those kind of little tiny nuances that we think about kind of just disappear in the mix. But I was like super tone conscious, and I was like, hey man, how does that sound up front to you? Like, is that too bright? Whatever. And also my first mistake was asking a front of house guy how my bass tone is. But anyway, the whole
roll, baby.
Yeah, dude. The whole point though was I kind of wanted to know like what a stranger's perspective would be, like what's a rando's perspective. And the guy was like, well, I'd rather have the highs because I can always take away highs and add lows. I can't take away lows and add highs.
100%.
Like, and that's kind of where I was like, oh shit, right on. And I started listening to like, you start listening to like different bass tones and mixes. And I've recently been going through a big Olivia Rodrigo phase, and that Guts album. It's fun. It's like a rock and roll album. It's so fun to listen to, and like the bass it's really nice in the mix. It's really nice, and that's kind of what I think about. Like when I'm listening to my tone in the ears, it's like, well, how would I want to listen to this in the radio or like on a mix, or you know what I mean? Like if I wanted to live stream this to like an interface and get the audio off the board, like would this tone be acceptable? Because I have a Neve DI on my board also, so I try to get a tone where it's like, okay, if we needed to record a live album, I can totally take this and run with this. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I try to go for. And round wounds kind of do it for me.
Yeah. So I'm back on the train. I think Nick will be back on the train soon. The DR Sunbeams that I'm into are pretty like fresh out the pack dead round wounds. And I immediately was like, finally something that matches how I play and what I like. And then like my Thunderbird, the pickups are a little more dead, so I'm gonna try to put a little brighter round wound set to get more, that'll be my clanky fun bass. Actually, I am currently in the process of having that put into BEAD.
Oh, nice.
Because I've always been such a 5-string player, and the amount of times I've played something on the G string that I've gotten, paid for professionally has been, less than 5. I'll say that. It's just to play some fake slap line at a cover gig 3 hours in when everyone's drunk and they don't actually care what I'm playing. So I'm gonna see how it goes. I've been missing that B string, and then before all the people are like, the fundamental of a low B is like under what speakers reproduce, and a SVT only goes so low, whatever. It's like, but a low D. The moment you hear like a low D, you're like, everyone's like, oh yeah, I get it. Totally get it.
Yeah, dude, resonating on not an open string. That's your kicker, is when it's like a fretted low D.
Right. Carson, I hear your approach, and it's like totally like the opposite of what I would do personally. That's awesome. No, but like it's not a bad thing though. Like
I love that.
So I'm a 4-string player all the time, and I have a 5-string. I have 2 5-strings.
I was gonna say I found one photo of you with a 5-string.
Yeah, the
so don't lie on this podcast.
Yeah. We'll call you out here. But I have one of those Marcus Miller Sire 5-strings, and I love it. It's a great tool to have.
These are awesome.
The builds are great, but what I do, I kind of copped this trick from Jesse, the bassist from St. Paul and the Broken Bones. We were doing a show together out in Virginia, and he was playing on this 6 Seric, but he was getting these like low Ds, and I was like, what is this guy doing? Like, how is this happening? And we just kind of started talking about bass, and he was like, yeah, dude, I just hit an octave pedal for when I need to hit that low D. And so that's what I do. Instead of getting a whole bass set to BEAD, I'll just hit that octave pedal for that one diamond if I need a low D for like a resolve, just to like make the whole chord, stacked as it should be. And also in our band we have a sample pad, so we'll throw some 808 sounds in there. So the subs are already set up to get that low D from. And actually, my octave pedal used to belong to Tim LaFave.
Oh man, loyalty.
It was gifted to me.
Buzzword on this podcast.
Yeah, dude. Right. Tim. Yeah, it was a dear friend of mine. His name's Andy. He's out in Austin, and he was like one of the first bassists that I, when you get into the scene of anywhere, and it's like, well, who's the guy that kind of like brings you in? And he was really nice to me, and he was, I guess, hanging around with Tim when he was with Black Crowes, I think. Or it could have been his time with David Bowie. But anyway, this pedal's signed by him, and it's got like a little peace sign drawing on it.
Oh my gosh! All right, you're not allowed to sell that. If you are selling it, you have to sell it to me.
Well, there's like a little piece of tape. Yeah, there's like a little piece of tape over his like signature.
Nice.
But it's on my touring board. So if you ever, yeah,
dude,
it's fun, dude. I like it.
The buzz of the name Tim LaFave. I did a few days in the studio this past week, and I show up with just my regular board, just the capo, and lately my drive is a JHS kilt that I use. I just like mix it in like 50-50. And he was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's just this preamp that's kind of buzzing online." And he's like, "Oh, okay." Like didn't care because they've got these $1,000 pre's and a full console of 40 API channels, and like they've got everything they need in the bass world really. Well, then I was like, yeah, Tim LaFavi's a lot. And he's like, oh, well, let's hear it. And I was like, okay, all right.
Right, yeah.
That's all it took.
Yeah,
He's paving the way for us.
Yeah,
to be able to use effects. He's finally he just like exerts coolness.
Yeah. Hey, and I will say, 2 of the 6 songs that we cut, I did use the high G string for. What he wanted was bass chords, but he meant the dyad thing, just like that 1 and 3, like the root and the third. Yeah. He wanted that for 2 separate songs, and I was like, so
okay,
I got hard evidence. You need it, bro.
You don't need it.
Kidding.
I only need 4 strings to get my
I just use AI.
I use the G all the time for like octave stuff. When we recorded this like last album, I was going through a big ABBA kick, and the song on there called Wallflower on our latest record. I was totally like inspired by the song As Good as New and by ABBA, and like just I'm doing octaves on a lot of that stuff. Yeah. And so like there's parts where I'm getting I love having the 4 string and the GDAE, dude. I'm a GDAE guy.
Nice.
Yeah, man. I'm with you.
This is an experiment, okay?
Yeah, like, I got a lot of buddies of mine who do the DA or what is it, DAEB? BEAD.
Yeah, see, I'm too stupid for all that. I just need. I've always been a 5-string guy. Yeah. I really love having 4s, so I want to have a 4 that feels like my 5 without the extra string.
Are you still using that Yamaha?
Yeah, that's my main bass.
Yeah.
But I play with a metal, it's shoegaze band called Sympathy Jar.
Oh, right on.
So I've been wanting the lowness of the Yamaha for that, but it's like bright and like picky. To cut through just walls of shoegazeness. What am I looking at here? What is this?
This is my other 5-string. It's a Yamaha.
Oh yeah. Heck yeah.
What is it like it's like a BBN5 or something like that. I've had it just kind of sitting around for a minute.
They're great.
Yeah,
they're great to have, especially in 5-string world. But yeah,
it's a cool tool.
On a P bass with flats,
a tool for me.
I've never really used the G string at all.
Yeah,
but we'll see. I mean, I'm gonna get it, and then I'll realize real quick how often I use it because it won't be there.
That's so funny. I grew up a guitar player, so people don't love it all the time, but I'll play like power chords like constantly. C and D, I'll play those power chords all the time.
On bass?
I'm actually not afraid to play a low power chord.
Oh, I do full chord triads. Like when I'm ending a song, like I will. Yeah, dude.
I've had this thing with this band that I play with, Sympathy Jar. I'll play C and I'll compensate. I'll do like the 8th fret or whatever it is on the E string, and then do the 3rd. And if you play it there instead of playing it down to the neck, even though it's not necessarily like it's not higher, it resonates in a way that's really pleasing. And then I would take my Thunderbird and I'd throw it into the cabinet of my amp, and it would squeal and feed back on the C. So that's what I'm into right now.
That's perfect.
Yeah, my thing is like I'll like end a song and I'll just like
love it.
Just let that
love it
triad ring out.
Yeah.
Or I'll do a lot of harmonics too. Or I'll do it like this.
Yeah.
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 I'll throw those in there, dude, for sure. Like I'm shamelessly throwing that stuff.
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, that's called personality, man.
And it's exactly. 100%. It's like that's the cool thing, and I think that's why like what makes bass really unique is that you can approach it so many ways, and like it comes from so many influences. I mean, we can all say like, yeah, I love Jocko, and like, yeah, I love James Jamerson, and we all come from like different backgrounds, and like the cool thing at the end of the day, we're holding the space so that lead players can color as much as they want.
Right.
But I mean that like in a good way. Like we're holding this entire space so that the rest of the whole music, can just like really vibe out and like do its thing. And like I don't know, I like being considerate of the tonal elements that I can bring or add to the entire group. Totally. Without being overbearing or overstepping. I like to toe that line of like what's too much and what's just right, and to find what complements the music,
Right. Out of context, there's a Daniel Tosh quote where he says sometimes you have to cross the line to know that you still have one.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's actually pretty good. Sometimes you gotta play a big chord at the wrong time and be like, oh, right, that's probably wrong. I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, dude, I've like, there's times where I'm like, oh, what if I like invert this chord and, put the 3 on the bass and just change it, and like, the whole band's like, what the hell are you doing?
The Bob Ross happy accident where he's like, oh, there's a tree there. And when I was painting.
No, I love that stuff because you'll hit it, and because sometimes I'm just doing it in the moment and everybody's just like looking around like, what's going on? But then sometimes I'm like, you know what? I've played this set a lot. I'm gonna start throwing some tricks and see who notices, Especially as I've been playing like these 4-hour Broadway shifts, you're just like, all right, how can I stay awake at this point?
Right.
So I've man, this is like interesting since you're saying, so you're new to the whole like Broadway kind of thing, right? Like,
well, I've been doing the 4 hours back home, but there's a lot less bars in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because we all come from the 4-hour gigs, right? And like, I just like kind of reflect on it and like think about it because like I used to do it too, but now my gig is like completely different where I'm driving up to meet the band and I'm going out on like tours and like doing that thing.
Yeah.
Like I always think about the world of bass and like the career aspect, like, is like, do you want to come into it as like a member of a band? Do you want to be like a hired gun that can be called up for tours? Like there's so many like career pathways in like being a bassist, and like it's really cool watching these like different perspectives. Like with Carson, like you're like you like the studio jam, like that's kind of your thing, right? And Nick, you're doing like mostly like live work and some studio. I don't get a lot of studio work. I mean, I'd like to.
I don't at all.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to get some studio work, right, as a bassist, but my thing is like I'm focusing my creative energies into what I can create in this band, and sometimes I think about like other like career opportunities of like how did these other players like get through I don't know, these awesome cool gigs, and like how can I push? And it's cool watching everybody's like approach to the instrument and like how we all use it differently. Like
100%. Yeah,
that's a good caveat too. To we've talked about this a lot. People have a lot of varying opinions on bass, varying opinions on gear. We make reviews of stuff that sometimes we love, sometimes we don't love, and you actually have 2 of the things that I'm not in love with on your board, and you sound awesome, and I love how you play, which is, it's not an Origin thing. It's I don't love 1176s on bass.
Yeah.
And the what's it called? The Origin BassRig wasn't really for me. And I love getting to hear people who it is for them, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
So take us through the board.
Yeah. So all of the records that I've played on with Silverada, all of that is going through a Neve to an 1176. Like that's no preamp. All
Neve
of my
console.
Yep. No, Trident console. It's a Trident console.
So it's like a Rupert Neve DI.
Yeah. Rupert Neve DI to their console and through an 1176. And like that's all. Everything else is just like straight bass toe knob and me. And as we were touring, man, my whole rig used to be just tuner to amp and let's go, right? And then your gig gets bigger and you switch over to in-ears and you're like, well, I want to kind of like cater to having a more detailed sound in my ears,
right?
And being a Rotosound artist, kind of like there was a segue into landing in being an Origins artist, which I'm super proud of, and it's worked amazing for me. So I've always been an SVT guy, and I tour with an SVT. I cab and head, and it's been the right combo for me. It's worked forever. And so I kind of wanted to create a rig that I could, we had started live tracking a lot of our shows, and a lot of that helped out too, because like when the pandemic hit, we were just kind of like releasing these like bootleg versions of our live shows, and all of this stuff was like off of my Neve DI. And I was like, well, I'd like to get more tonal variants or like tonal opportunities. So I was like, well, let me build a rig that I can take on the road that's still essentially what I use in the studio. So I have the 1176 Origins, the Cali 76 compression pedal, and the Neve DI, and in between that, I threw in Origins version of the SVT, the BassRig.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
And I it took a lot of experimenting with the BassRig, because there's a lot of cool features on there that like I just didn't really have experience with. And what I love about it is that it's got the low pass, high pass filter knobs on there. So in essence, I guess what I've been doing is I'm usually the guy that'll set up the SVT with the ultra low. And so what I did was I turned up the high pass filter on that, and I just lowered the bass knob to kind of round it out. And my my mids are pretty much at like 11 o'clock, 10:30, like
yeah,
almost
11
flat,
o'clock. Maybe just like just a tiny...
just slightly back. Yep, just a slight little scoop. And then my highs are just probably at like 1 o'clock. When it comes to that pedal. And then another thing with it is that, like, I've noticed a lot of people have said, like, oh, well, you have to have the drive on in order to get like the EQ range out of the like the EQ out of the pedal. And so what I do is I'll put like a touch of drive, but like not enough to really make a difference. And the blend, I'll do it maybe at like 1 o'clock to where I'm still getting the tonal like integrity of the bass, which is my 75 that I'm playing, which is growly as shit. I'll get the tonal integrity out of that into the BassRig, and it works out great. Like, I mean,
heck yeah,
it's been a really good combo for me. And like I said, I do different though on the Origins is that I don't do the DI out of the Origins. I skip it and then go out of the Neve DI.
Yeah, the RNDI.
Yeah,
we have been singing his praises.
The DI out of the XLR out of the Origins BassRig has it has an 810 cab sim on there.
Yeah, the cab sim.
Yeah, and I just I'd rather not throw another cab sim. Like I just kind of want the preamp on there. And so what I end up doing is I end up sending 2 signals to front of house. So like I'll get that preamp set up the way I want it in my ears, and I'll send that signal out to front of house. And I also mic up my SVT cab for stage volume so that I know what I'm throwing, and I blend those 2 knobs on stage. But I give front of house the opportunity to blend both.
Both that's
signals.
awesome. And like there's no reason for a cab sim because you've got the cab.
Exactly.
Like
exactly. Yeah. So exactly. Yeah.
You've got the thing it's emulating. Yeah. There's a lot of cool stuff in their pedals too. Like, I don't know. It all just feels like very high end. I even love they have like soft foot switches or something.
That's my favorite.
Like, you're like, oh man, that's the nice Cadillac foot switches.
Yep.
I'll never go back to clicky boss.
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
We're in deep, boys.
Yeah, they're those switches are super.
Oh,
nice.
That's luxury right there.
Man, even like compression was like a mystery for me. Up until recently, like I was just like, man, I gotta dial something in with this like compressor pedal, and I had seen a Amos Heller video, plays bass for Taylor Swift. He did a video on the new Origins Cali 76 with the meter light, and I was like, oh, let me cop these settings real quick. And so like I checked it out, and I was like, all right, cool, I like this. And then after a while, you just start like tweaking your own settings, and I was like, well, let me go to the user manual of like what Origins provide and like really get a detail of like what these knobs do. And so I started tone digging, and I'm in a really happy place right now.
Do you have the newer one?
No, I have the compact bass.
Cool, love it.
Yep, and it's cool, dude. I love it.
That one's cool too because you can run it at 9-volt and 18-volt.
Yep.
Which, in my experience, 18 was the way to go. It was a pain to like wire it up that way, but like it had different headroom. It was fun. I don't know. Have you ever tried that?
No, never.
You should do it.
Yeah,
you should do it. It's awesome. It's like getting another pedal. You're like, heck yeah. I had the big one, and I brought it on the road for a long time. The Big Daddy.
Yeah.
He did.
And it was. They are, and they would say this themselves. I would bet they are not worth the extremely inflated prices online. Oh man, those suckers are like $1,000 to $1,500 now.
That's wild,
back in the
dude.
day, yeah, when they were new, they were $400 or $500. But it was an 1176 in the thing, and that's how they got the circuitry right because they were making basically 1176s for your pedal board, and then it just got smaller and smaller and smaller. Yeah, but man, if you
have you compared like the old unit with the newer ones?
With the brand new ones?
Yeah.
No, I'd love to get my hands on a newer one. I say real 1176. I have an 1176 1-for-1 clone, and I want to do a video on. Like actually, I have an SSL bus compressor clone, and then we reviewed that collaboration devices, SSL type compressor pedal, I have a 1-for-1 LA2A, and then, I'm obsessed with my Union Tube and Transistor lab compressor, which is an LA2A, and I have a 1-for-1 1176. So I need to go get another Cali or borrow one so that I can do like a how do the studio classics compare to the pedal compressors. I feel like that would be my crown jewel.
I mean, also, like, you see a lot of like touring musicians that they just run these pedals, and it, like, well, the pros got them. Why not, me try it, right? Why not I try it? And like,
they're
it's
doing
cool.
something right.
Yeah, and it's cool, like, being in, like, we're all in a different, like, levels or whatever of our gig. And, as the band grows, I'm, like, getting more gear and trying to figure out what I want to do. There's days where I'm like, well, what if I bring out a Fender rig and have my bass rig? Like, there's days where I want to bring out, like a 215 Fender cab with the Bassman 100 and just like use that rig for flat wound, have a flat wound rig and a round wound, but then, that's 2 rigs to load in. And I'm not quite there yet.
Man, when I met Adam Devonshire, that was an experience because he had a Fender Bassman and an 810. Yeah. And then he had a, what's it called? A high watt. And an 810 of the high watt style. And being right in front of that, it was just like blistering.
And we're both going off at the same time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they're both doing different things.
One's a clean and one's like a dirty, I guess.
I think. Or they're both kind of dirty.
We'll have to read.
I don't actually, like, it is awesome. It is awesome. And for the new album, I saw an SVT back there. I think he was doing a Fender and an SVT for a minute, but live he's back on the high watt. So cool. In the videos and stuff, he's got the SVT. So like that's the dream, man. And dude, be like, why not both?
Dude, it's like having some Nike Shocks on with an Adidas tracksuit. That's awesome.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, exactly. They're all good, dude. I had cool. Like what I'm really thankful for this rig is that like. It's really like I have a whole rig in a box that I can just travel with. Like if we have fly dates or whatever, like I'm really happy that I can I get my tone from an SVT out of another pedal and like the consistency stays the same. Yeah, I really like that. I've been really curious lately about the new like Venture Ampeg stuff, like that 8.8. Have y'all seen that 8.8 cab?
Yeah,
I'd love to check
8-inch speakers.
Yeah, dude,
very fascinating.
I would love to play through one of those. It just seems like. Like that's the rig right there.
Right.
Yeah, and you could probably like swing it over your head and stuff. So like,
jump on top of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
dude. It's like not full size fridge, but you've got the umph.
They're still sizable.
For it.
Yeah, you still have the look, and you still get the thump.
It's more about how you use it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Somebody get me out of here,
dude. Yeah, I'm still a tube guy, but yeah, it depends how you use it.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to be, man. I want to be a tube guy. It's just hard to commit to a 70-pound head. Be like,
dude, 80 pound.
Yeah, 80. It's the heaviest 80 pounds you've ever picked up if it hits the floor.
Oh,
like they're so low to the ground. There's no way to have good form when you grab them.
Yeah,
that's like the hardest part.
I call it what is it? Musician CrossFit. It's like it's like weightlifting with terrible form. Yeah.
It's bumping that iron.
Yeah, I went out. I impulse bought like a 810 off of Facebook. I literally gave a guy $400.
810. You hear this? Oh my gosh!
I gave a guy $400. I'm like, show me a better spent $400. So I bought it, and it came in a road case, which is
right on, dude.
And I'm talking value here.
That's
I'm like,
a steal.
People are like, oh man, that's a good deal. It's like, well, yeah, it is if you got a way to get it around and get it to your gig.
Yeah.
Because like I got it home and I barely got it home. I mean, I was like afraid I was gonna lose a window, and I was like, "Sweet, got this thing home. This is awesome." And I looked at my door and I was like, "I forgot to measure my doorway. I don't even know that it's gonna. I might have to chain it up on my porch a couple of days." So
dude,
I finally got it. But
I use
the 610. That's a
610
little
guy.
more rationally sized. Well, honestly, it's all been fine, but it's so some 810s. Like the road cases, some of them will like the casters are on the bottom, and that seems a little shaky, little whatever. For the 810, in my opinion, I'm like, but it's like better for your truck pack. So I'm like, okay, well there you go, you win there as long as there's somebody holding it and watching it.
Yeah.
Well then mine, the casters are on the back, so that thing gets transported like a freaking coffin. Yeah, dude. Oh, it's rough.
Yeah.
And by the nature of the way you have to set it up with, well, the reason I brought it up was your CrossFit comment. You literally have to like get on the front of it and like deadlift it up, right? And like lean the thing up. Well, by the nature of it, since it has to be like in the road case and standing, there's no handles on the bottom. So long ways, there's only handles on the top. And when you're going like down a set of stairs and your buddy, you're like, hey, can you like just really quick grab this? And they're like, where? What am I going to grab? Like, how am I going to not die here? There's no handles. And I'm like, I get why. I get it. But like, not great at some points. There's handles everywhere
that's
else
going around. It's like I feel like every person I know has shared this meme to me where it's got the fridge and the stairs and it's like
name a better duo.
Name a more iconic combo.
Or keep sending it to me because I bought it.
That's what it is, dude.
Yeah. Look, dude, I'm not gonna lie. I always travel like I don't mic it or anything. So if I show up at a venue and it's not fitting through the door, I'm not losing sleep. Like, I'm bummed, you know, I'm like, man, can't move some air. That stinks. But I'm also not going to, like, hurt myself to get it inside.
Yeah, just do the pierce the veil thing and, like, take out the bottom 4 speakers, but leave the grill on. Nobody will know.
Oh, dude, is that what they do?
No, they got in a bunch of trouble because they had a bunch of fake, like, Marshall cabs. And people still didn't realize that if you see a wall of Marshall, that all those people definitely aren't bringing that many Marshalls.
For sure.
And they're definitely not on. You know how much tubes cost?
Right, exactly. Like, in this economy.
In this economy, dude, I'm sitting on a gold mine right now. I've got a dozen 6550s in my closet right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, dude. I had to.
And gold bars will get us through the next apocalypse, you know?
Yeah, dude. This podcast is sponsored by the sale of 6550s.
Yeah, exactly. You know who to hit up.
Yeah, I gotta match them or make sure that they're like matching. I don't know anything about tubes. They sound great.
Anything, you know. They're cool.
Yeah, exactly. They turn on. All right,
good.
let's go rock and roll.
Hit it with a pencil. It works.
Yeah,
man. You know,
test.
my SVT took a crap on me in Alabama in Birmingham.
That never happens.
In Birmingham, Alabama, we were playing at a place called Zydeco.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if y'all have ever heard of that. Yeah, we were at Zydeco and I turned it on and just like half of the bias control side just wasn't going on. And then I realized that the year prior we were there and our singer's amp went out too, so it was the same venue back to back claiming amps and my SVT was one of those, so I had to buy a new set of tubes and then like an emergency set of tubes there locally, and the music store or whatever, they delivered them over to me, and then it turned out one of those tubes wasn't matching the set, so then I had to buy a whole nother set. So I've
you're just uphill and looking for the tube thing's so funny.
It's
tube
wild.
hunting too. Like you finally, say you find a pallet of unused tubes or whatever, 20% of them are going to be bad. Like people have to test them. You throw them out. Like just because you find a bucket of tubes, I mean,
they're in a bucket for a reason.
80% of them.
They're in a bucket for a reason. You know what I mean? Yeah, dude.
Sheesh.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, we were at a show down like south of Houston this last week, and we had 2 backline twins. And my steel player throws his up, and he, powers it up, and he's like, "Man, it's just breaking up really early." And you're like, if you've ever played a twin, if you're playing a twin, you're like, dude, you've got to juice that thing to get any kind of breakup. I mean, it's like crystal clear. I mean, there's so much room. And I was like, weird. And we're getting ready to go on, and he goes, "Oh, it's because half the tubes aren't in. They were just sitting in the bottom, rolling around loose."
Oh my gosh, nice,
like, bro. That's
crazy. That thing not blow
Did
up?
they go back in and work?
Yeah.
Sweet.
It was all good. They just were
very lucky.
It got given to us with 2. I think it was 2 of them just rolling loose in the bottom, which is crazy. But
all right, I gotta ask a based history question.
Okay.
Which one of y'all recorded the podcast theme song?
That's me.
Nice.
Oh yeah, Mr. Nick.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yep, and you know what it is? You ready for this? It's a splice loop, so call me Sabrina Carpenter. Nice. And then it's literally the Rick with Dead Rotos.
Oh, nice.
Is what it is. Yeah.
See?
I love
iconic sound.
Yeah, he did a great job. We can never change it.
I've never played a Rick, dude, my entire life. I don't think.
Dude, next time you're in town, you come by my place, and you can You bring yours. We'll throw it through my big old 810. It'll be great.
Yeah, dude. I'll take my SVT for fun, right? Help me load it in.
Dude, yeah. Are you guys coming back up here soon as we kind of land our plane?
No, we're kind of done for the rest of the year. We just finished a West Coast tour, so we were out. Nice. We did the whole country this year. Like 2 months ago, we were in East Coast, and then we headed out west. That West Coast tour just finished last week officially, or like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, like a week and a half ago. But yeah, I don't see any trips to Nashville here coming up. Yeah, I know. I wish. But yeah, I mean, we constantly we'll end up in that area again
it'll
at
happen.
some point. Yeah, and we always end up in like Kentucky and played in the Burl and
Burl.
Yeah, all those other like spots in that area in Lexington. What was that? We just played another Manchester Music Hall. I think.
Manchester's great, man.
Yep. That was a cool spot. Cool room. I mean,
that room is alive. It's very alive.
Like, it's got the wood beams that run across and all that. Yeah.
My friend Chase Graham, shout out to him. He has a Rickenbacker. Well, first of all, fellow bass collector that finds really cool stuff. So he plays it's a short scale Hofner a lot, but it's a like solid body. It's not hollow body. It's still from the 50s or 60s, and it is sweet. I played it and I was like, this is bad, because I'm like, I need one of these. This is really insane.
I'm too much of a Fender guy, dude. I'm too much of a Fender loyalist.
Yeah, I mean, I do get that. But he brought to me, knowing that I play a 5-string that has skinny string spacing. He has a real Rickenbacker 5-string that is tight, like it's really tight string. It is right up my alley. And I'm extremely jealous, and yeah, that's it. He's a great bass player. Plays for B Taylor.
D Taylor?
B Taylor. Bee Taylor. Really cool, like New Orleans-y soul thing. Nice. It's they're both awesome. Yeah, they're homies.
I have this really cool '87 first year Korean, first year Korean Squire bass that was gifted to me in like Louisiana.
Heck yeah,
dude! It's like those early
the first year, like the early Squires are like,
dude, the neck on this
really
thing is
good.
Insane. But yeah.
I really want a Squire. I guess what year is it? It's early '80s where they were getting really good, right?
Yeah, this is a 80. Actually, this is an '87. I think 84 or '87. I can't remember. One of the two. Yeah. Yeah.
I really want a Sunburst jazz bass that are those Squire. If they made it, assuming they made it, but the really early Squires, for people who don't know,
the
like
stack pot.
Yeah,
or like a stack pot jazz bass, or like early Squires.
Early Squire. I think it's a regular jazz bass, but were they Japanese?
Yeah. I mean, there was like all kinds of runs of like those early Squires, because I remember like the early Bullet basses. The early Bullet basses had
those are
they
fun.
had the Telecaster headstocks and all that. Yeah, those were fun. But yeah, I think when they moved over to Japan was when they started doing like the early '60s reissues, like the first line of like early Japanese reissue jazz basses. But I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah, I googled it. Early Squire is Fender Japan, and yeah, I mean, the story goes that like because they were switching factories, and I don't know who, for whatever reason, Fender quality control was not great in the '80s, but they had recently started the Japanese line, and so all the people were like buying Fenders, and they were buying the cheaper Japanese ones because they were just as good or better than the American ones. And then after they kind of had a period where I think they even shut down their American stuff and reopened it to like do it right again, to kind of like recalibrate. But the Fender Japan stuff from that era is great. So I almost want it more that it has Squire on the headstock. Like it makes it extra cool to me.
I've heard of this, like those like early reissues that are like insane. I've got a buddy of mine who tours with an artist named Nikki Lane. Ryan
Nikki Lane is great.
Yeah. And my buddy Ryan plays bass with her, and he's got one of those like candy apple red jazz basses with the matching headstock and like body. Dude, it's so sick. It's such a sick bass. Yeah. Totally random. I before all this, like big shout out. So like in Texas, there's this like group, and it's like all of us like bass chat. Like we have a bass chat in Texas with all the like bass players, and it's
Sick.
like just for reference, it's 32 people max that you can have in an iPhone group chat.
Okay, all right.
And so it's like all bases, and like we're always constantly sending each other like bass finds and like stuff like that. And like what's really cool about having that like little bass community here in Texas is that they you know, you need a sub, or like it's always dudes just like helping each other out, like filling gigs or finding gear. And man, like
Texas seems to have a thing.
yeah, dude, it's a pretty tight knit community down here with like the music scene in Texas, and just like anywhere else, like the same way you have it going on with the Appalachian music, and like same thing with you know Nashville. Everybody's got its circle. Like Nashville's got like the steel player nerds that are all getting together now, and like we're over here trying to get all the bass player nerds together. But I think the rest of everybody else that's in a band would probably hate that.
Yeah, so as we land the plane, and it's perfectly acceptable that you eat, sleep, and drink bass guitar, but what else are you into? What's been giving you life? Do you watch TV shows, movies?
Man.
What do you do on the road? Books?
Ooh, I'm a little dude. I've got man. Are you sure you want to land this plane? Because
yeah.
So okay, so like I'm really into motorcycles. Right now, currently building a 1976 Ironhead chopper, and like I do motorcycles, and
Nice.
currently studying music therapy. I'm a music therapy student, and so I've
Cool.
been touring for the last 4 years as a music therapy student. So like getting to learn and build a relationship with music through kind of a healing way has been really cool for me, to like take things in a psychological or like a humanistic kind of approach has been really eye-opening for me as a musician. But yeah, dude, motorcycles, music therapy, my dog. I got a husky here at home, and I got a few other pets, and basses has been my thing too for like the longest time, man. And like it's my three big things right there. Yeah, that's what keeps me going. Books, I like philosophy stuff. Not too nerdy, but I get into like Slavoj Žižek and other like type of thinkers. I mean, I don't know. I'm not much of a reader.
Cool.
Also, I'll get into stuff like that.
I want to be. I'm hoping.
I can't, dude. I can't be a pleasure reader yet because I've had to read so much for school that I'm just like not in the headspace to be a pleasure reader. And I got other stuff to do too. So
Yeah, I'm doing the like. I'm very close to the digital detox thing, and I want reading to become part of that.
I'm wanting to get. I wish I could erase all social medias and just like focus on playing.
Yeah, seriously.
Here
That's
we are
like
doing a bass podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's such a
exactly.
necessary evil in some ways, and then other days I'm like, is it even necessary? Is it just evil?
Yep.
It's the only reason we have a platform, though. So
Yeah,
like,
I get
it's
it,
such
yeah.
a double-edged sword.
It's the only reason why I have a platform at all either. That's I mean, it's I
If I hit the lottery tomorrow, I delete it
know.
all. So
Yeah, and let me know.
Yeah,
there'll be signs you won't hear an episode
yeah.
from.
you'd only
Bass
hear a
podcast.
low rumble all across the earth from all of my new gear purchases. Reverb will just like you go to Reverb and it just says sold out. Like you can't even use this.
Just be like, boys, we're going to Fort Wayne. We're going to Sweetwater.
Yeah.
Indiana, here we come.
I'm more dabbling in the Vintage King area. That is where I sink all my money. Shout out to my Sweetwater rep or my Vintage King rep.
Yeah, I've never been. I've never been to that. Is that in? Where's the Vintage King? Tell me
There's
more.
one in Nashville. I think they have some in LA too. It's not. It's more of an online thing.
Gotcha. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, it's where you buy all the pro audio stuff.
Gotcha. Not the pro.
They're actually. I don't know. I don't want to give them free press, but Mr. Eric Brody is my Vintage King rep.
Right on.
They certainly have taken care. I mean, they're like, where else can you buy like 8 Neve preamps, and then if you don't like it, they'll take it back, and you can buy 8 API preamps. Like that's kind of a they go the extra mile on like customer service stuff, and they'll fix stuff.
I think Guitar Center's been recently trying to do the same thing. I got a call the other day from
Trying to get there, yeah.
from a Guitar Center like music rep. It's like, hey Omar, this is your rep from Guitar Center. Anything you need? Yeah. Like, oh, it looks like you play bass. Yeah, it's
I do vocationally,
Right,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sales phone call small talk. That's always difficult.
Yeah.
Hey, you like electronics? You're like, yeah, I guess. All right, cool, man. Well, hit me up if you need anything else.
Whatever you need, man.
Whatever you need, man. Yeah. Don't forget about me. And then, like, before you hang up, it's, I love you.
Yeah, dude, man, you know, I will. Yeah, I love you. Say it. Say it. Say it back, man. Say it back. Say it back.
Please say it. Click.
Please say it back.
So funny.
Yeah.
The candy
King's
bag.
awesome,
I don't complain about the candy bag from Sweetwater, though.
Oh, heck yeah.
I mean, I like the Smarties, but anyway, yeah.
Vintage King's the spot where you have to, like, make an appointment to go see all the cool stuff. Vintage King is the spot where, like, the speakers get so expensive they don't sell them by the pair. So the sticker shock is for one of them. Yeah, that's how that goes.
That is tough, dude.
It's good. They actually know what they're doing. I don't know. Now I'm on the Vintage King kick. So before they were just like mostly selling new stuff, they would be the place where you could go to get a truly restored Neumann U47 from what, the 50s, the 60s, whatever. Yeah. Like, because early internet, everyone said they would have these things, then you'd get a counterfeit, or you get one that, people have smoked all around or whatever. So it was like they were the first reputable place to buy these fixed rehab mics. Mm-hmm. And then, like, consoles are a pain in the butt, and they're amazing, and not many people can afford them anymore. So all the people started breaking the classic consoles apart. So you would get various quality if someone's like selling a Neve channel, but you don't know how well they did when they took that channel out of the console. So you could be like, okay, well, I could buy it from Vintage King and know that it's good and know that they'll take it back. So anyway, cool place. When I see a Vintage King sticker, I'm like, that's a real one. As
that's a real sticker.
Yeah, right. That's a real sticker.
That's a real sticker right there.
Well, this has been awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, y'all.
Thank you so much. We'd love to have you again sometime. You could be one of our first repeat guests. But
and we could do like an in-person hang whenever we get around to it, man.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Anytime you guys want to come out to a show, we'd love to have you all.
Oh man, honored. Okay, you're gonna give me a solo is what I'm hearing.
You got it.
So
anesthesia, pulling teeth, coming right up.
Right. Yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks again, and thanks you all at home for listening. Make sure you check out Omar. Make sure you check out his band Silverada. Like, they're dope. New out. Well, I guess it's not super new, but like, newest album is dope. You're gonna like it. If you've never really listened to like country, Texas country, that kind of country, give it a chance. It's cool. So, thanks again, and we'll talk to you all next time.